the content at a later date. So we'll go ahead and get started. I am going to share with you my screen, and I've got a PowerPoint presentation that I have been working on. Let's see if we can pull that up. Here we go. And I'm sorry, I know that my screen is jumping around a bit as we get started. So this is the presentation we're going to be working on today. The content of the presentation isn't important at all. It's just something that I had used in a prior training. So what we're going to be looking at is creating your own presentation and personalizing it. You'll notice at the bottom of this slide, I have the TCU Neely logo. Um, Oftentimes we want to put a logo on our presentation, and we may even want it on every single slide. If you insert a graphic, then that graphic size is embedded in the presentation. If I were to copy and paste that graphic to every single slide, it's going to take the size of the presentation and basically blow it up, because every time I copy and paste, it copies the size of that graphic too. So a quick way to add a graphic to your slide is to put it into the background. So let's introduce to you the Slide Master. Up at the top along the ribbon, you have your different ribbons to interact with your slides. I'm going to go all the way to the right-hand side where it says View. Here, I am going to select the Slide Master. The Slide Master gives me the template that I am using in this presentation. So you'll see the very first one is my general template. Here is where I have posted the graphic. So see, I can grab it and move it over. By posting it here on this Slide Master, it will reproduce itself on every single slide in my presentation. Well, those that use this template. We're going to look at some other templates that you can use within your presentation. And what I mean by template is my layout. So right now, this is called a title slide. If I come up here to the ribbon on Home and say Layout, it shows me the different slides that are available. So this is a title slide. This is title and content. Section header, almost like a title slide here. And then if I want a side-by-side comparison, maybe a comparison with a header on top. Or maybe I want a slide with just a title so I can put some type of graphic, or maybe I want to start a movie or some type of audio. I can use just the title here. So why is this important? It is important because as we go through this presentation, you'll see that I've used different title slides, and then I have a content slide. And as I scroll through, most of it's content, and then I have one that was just a title, and I inserted some graphics. It's important because as you put together your slideshow, as you're putting a new slide in and typing in information, when you click on New Slide, you're going to select what kind of layout you would like. If I want at any point in time to change my layout, I'd come up to Layout and select a new one. So it would take all the content and change it. So let's see what it does when I take this title slide and make it a title and content slide. So it changes how everything's laid out. So this is still my title, but then this becomes content. Unlike when it's a title slide, this is a title and a subtitle. Now, this is a pretty boring design. It's all white with a little purple. Kind of boring. So let's jazz it up a bit. If you come up here to the Design tab along the ribbon, you'll see that there are a lot of variations that we use in background. And if I hover over any of them, it'll give me a preview of what my presentation would look like if I made the change. Well, this is a business presentation, so we don't want too many flourishes here. It's going to detract. So I could do something pretty simple. I like this design, but I don't like the colors. So we'll pick this design. All I have to do is click on it, and it's going to change all my slides. You'll see off there to the left, all my slides change. But I am not a fan of orange, so I want to get rid of the orange. Next to the designs, I can come over to what's called the variants. And as I hover here, you can see that it's going to change the colors. But there's more. This little arrow drop-down box, I can change the colors, and it's got all these pre-existing or preloaded color schemes for us that we can use. Now, being it's sponsored by TCU, I'm probably going to go right to the violet or the violet number 2 so I can get close. I don't like this purple bar down here. Let's see what we can do to get rid of that. So I've changed it. I've changed the color, but I can still have more changes. If I go back to my Slide Master, I can come over here. I'm going to select the Slide Master, and I'm going to go up to the main slide. Now you'll see there's no purple bar. So where's that purple bar coming in? If I go to the title slide, there it is. If I click on it, it's actually just a box that somebody had put in the presentation. Likewise, so is this little ribbon. I like the ribbon. I think I'll keep it. But what I would like to do is color coordinate the ribbon with this little ribbon up here at the top. So I'm going to go back to the main slide. This is where I can change my background. So I'm going to select that little box up there. And up at the top in the drawing tools, I'm going to change the color. We're going to do light purple just for fun, and that way we can see it. So as I click through, you'll see that in every slide that ribbon's changed. Now this little ribbon, oops, this little ribbon or this little bar across the bottom, I want to change it to color coordinate. So I can do that. Just select it and then change it. This one, this is a section header. It's still got the box, so let's get rid of that. And you can see that you can spend a lot of time making changes to the background. But we do so in the Slide Master so that the changes are uniform throughout your presentation. Any changes that you make just in the presentation are only applicable to the slide in which you're making them. I'm going to close the Slide Master. So you'll see my presentation looks a bit different. It's incorporated all the changes that you just saw me make on the Slide Master. So as I scroll through and I go to the different slides, certainly looks a lot different. But I want to do something, maybe change this up a little. In this case, this is a quote I pulled out of an article. I don't want the bullet point there, so I'm going to undo it. And then I'm going to undo that one. But I'm going to leave the bullet point with the author's name. So that's okay, but I want to highlight this. So let's highlight my summary. We're going to bold it. We're going to underline it. Why is this important? Just because I want to show you that when it's all said and done, if I say, I just don't like those changes, I'd like for it to go back the way it was, I can come up here to the slides where we choose the layout. I can also reset a slide, and that is go back to the original Slide Master and undo all the changes I've made to this particular slide. So when I click this, all that font is going to reset. It's going to automatically go back to the bullet points because that's what the Slide Master is made of, and the bullet points by tier. And so there you go. You can always reset it back to the original by hitting the reset button. Now in this case, I've noticed that my font is only at 20 points. And we learned previously in another Tech Tuesday session about best practices when it comes to PowerPoint. You want font that is at least 24 points if you're going to be using it in a type of projection or in a rolling monitor. And so it makes it easier for someone to see. This is too small for me. How could I change it? Well, as you do with anything, I could highlight it and change it, but then I have to do it on every slide. So we're going to go back to the Slide Master. We're going to go back to View, and we're going to go to Slide Master. And here, it's going up to the original one over on the left-hand side. You'll see here that when I click on that first line of the Slide Master, it's only at 20-point font. That's too small for me. And if I go down to the third level, it's only 16-point font. That is way too small for the presentation. So I can highlight it all, and I'm going to make it bigger. And if I go up here towards the font, there's the capital A with a little up arrow, and that means increase the font. So what it's showing me to the left, 14 plus, it means the smallest font I have that I've highlighted is 14 points. So I'm going to increase it, and when I click it, it goes up by 2 points. And so I'm going to have to come out of here and see where am I now. I'm at 32 and 28. And if I go down to the third level, I'm at 24. That to me is acceptable. I like that. What I don't like is that my title goes 2 lines. And so as I'm putting together my presentation, it actually reduces the content I can have on the slide because my title takes up a lot of room. I don't have very long titles, so what I could do here on the Slide Master is change it. I can make the title smaller so it only takes up 1 line of text. And then the content piece, where I have my bullet points, I'm going to expand it. And I'm going to expand it this way. And it looks like the footer and date might be over here. I think I'm okay with that. So let's see what it looks like once I get out of my Slide Master. what it does to my content. Oh, it makes it much bigger. Oh, now my title looks a little small. Maybe I want to change it. I want to make it bigger. I want to make it bolder. I think I might do that. So I'm going to go back to the view, go back to Slide Master, and I'm going to come up here. And you can see this, you could play with this for hours, have a lot of fun with it, be creative, make it really personalized, depending on what your presentation is going to be, who's it for. I can also change my font. So if I get on my Slide Master, you'll see it definitely changes it up a bit. Some of this may be hard to read. I might have to modify it even further, but it certainly changes the look of my presentation. So that's how we would use the Slide Master to change up things. One thing I definitely want to show you here on the Design tab, we looked at changing up the design and making it look a lot different. We looked at changing colors as well. One thing under the variants is changing of fonts. I can change all the fonts in the presentation at one time. And what it would do is pick up, if I wanted to change it to, we'll change it to the Georgia text. It won't look very good, but it'll give you an idea of how it's going to change it. It changed everything in the presentation. So if I flip through a couple more slides, you'll see all of the text has changed. This is important because as you're putting together your presentation, it's helpful to put all the content in, then go back and choose your design. Because you'll find you'll pick a design and then you'll go to add the content. You don't like the way it looks, you'll pick another design. You add more content, you don't like the way that looks, you pick another design. You can imagine that you just go around and round. So it is best to put all your content in first before you select a design. And you might find that you don't like the font that was used. So go back and change the font. You can change the whole presentation at once. It's really handy, especially if maybe the person you're doing the presentation for, or maybe you just don't like the look of some of the natural fonts. I'm an Arial and Times New Roman person, kind of like that old typewriter font. Others don't. They want something big and bold, and maybe it's Arial Black they want to go with. But it makes it easy to play with it and see what font looks good without having to redo your entire presentation. It's just a single click, so that's extremely helpful. You can also change the background style. You'll see here that it's a variant, and it is darker and it's slightly lighter in the middle, but I could go lighter. And these are all things that I can do just up here in the Design tab that helps me change my entire presentation at once. If need be, I can change the slide size. If you're projecting onto a television that's a widescreen television, you can change the slides. They'll fill up the entire screen. So that's how you would do that, just right there at slide size. Now, if we go back over to the master, so we've been working in the Slide Master. But if you would like to create handouts for your presentation, you can modify what the handouts look like. Most of you are probably used to printing like 3 slides per page with the lines over to the side, or maybe doing 6 slides per page. You can actually get into this Handout Master and change what those look like. So maybe you only want 2 slides per page with lots of writing room, or you want to create handouts where the slide is actually very small and you have plenty of space to write. You can do all of that within the Handout Master. Likewise, the Notes Master, when you print the notes of the presentation, you see down here at the bottom where it says click to add notes, these are speaker notes. And so if I printed the notes page, it would print the slide at the top and the notes at the bottom, and I could follow along with the presentation and maybe read from my notes. You can actually change that master as well if you want to shrink the slide or make it bigger for whoever is going to be doing the presentation. So those are all handy, very, very handy things to do when you're looking at the master views, whether it's the Slide Master, Handout Master, or even the Notes Master. So one more thing that I want to show you. So we go back into our presentation here. I just don't like the way that looks, but that's okay because we're not going to be using it. Sometimes we are called to help someone who's a bit technically challenged, and I think you know what I mean. They just don't understand where to click, what to do, how to do things quickly. When you put someone in front of an audience and they're trying to make a good impression, it does not make a good impression when they sit and fumble with their PowerPoint presentation trying to figure out how to get it up on the screen and go into the slide mode. Or my favorite, when they sit here and this is what you see the entire presentation. You see all the slides off to the left and the ribbon at the top instead of going into the actual slideshow. That can be really difficult to watch. So there's something you can do to help, whether it's helping yourself or helping somebody else, and that is to, once you've created your presentation, is to save it in what's called Slideshow View. So first thing we would want to do is save all of our changes to make sure we're saving the correct file. So everything gets saved first, and it's just a regular PowerPoint. Then we're going to go into File, and we're going to Save As. Click wherever it is we need to click. And here, now it defaults into our standard PowerPoint presentation. That's what we already have. What we want to create is what's called a PowerPoint show. This creates a new file in which when I double click to open it, it immediately opens up in the slideshow view. And so no one has to go find the button. They don't have to sit there and play with it. Once I've created this file, and that is in the PowerPoint show, it's going to show up, of course, in my file view. Let me see if this will... I don't think it's going to let you see this, and I apologize. I'm looking at my File Explorer, showing you what all my files are, and I apologize you can't see it. Technical difficulties. When I go into my desktop, I could put an icon on the desktop for this file and just save it to my desktop, and when I double click, it would automatically open in this view, which you don't see anything else. We're automatically launched into the show, and I apologize that you cannot see that. But in order to save it that way and help someone in the future, then you just, of course, you're going to save as, go find the location, and you're going to change it from PowerPoint presentation to PowerPoint show. And then that way, when it launches, it will automatically launch into the slideshow view. If ever you get into that and you want to make a change to it, all you have to do is hit escape, and it'll pull you back in to your standard view for PowerPoint. The only thing that this slideshow does, or sorry, the PowerPoint show will do, is automatically launch into the slideshow feature instead of into the edit view that we're looking at now. So extremely handy if you're trying to help someone who is technically challenged. Well, that is it for what I had to talk to you about today. If you have a question, feel free to type it into our chat box. If not, I will ask you to join us again. In 2 weeks, I'll be back to go over basic forms in Microsoft Word, and that is using the fillable forms, using those text boxes, and also how to format those so they don't lose their shape and move things around on you as you're filling them out. We'll be doing that on February 21st, again Tuesday at 2 o'clock. So I hope that you can join us. Be sure to put it on your calendar. Tuesday the 21st at 2 o'clock, Basic Forms in Microsoft Word. Unless you have any questions, that's it for our presentation today. I thank all of you for joining us, and I hope to hear from you or see your name pop up again in 2 weeks. Thank you.